Ahoy! And welcome to Manning Overboard, Happy Hour with Hotcakes and the Captain, a show about the good in liquid life,
where we talk about bars, bartending, and booze.
She's Hotcakes.
And he's the Captain.
Thanks for coming aboard. Now, let's go overboard. Ahoy! Welcome to Manning Overboard, Happy Hour with Hotcakes and the Captain. I'm the Captain, Rich Manning, and with me as always is my beautiful, lovely, and talented wife, Heather Hotcakes.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. So what are we drinking?
Well, today, as we always do, we drink in honor of our guests. So, I created for you a drink in honor of the pop-up that they do. I created a classic JungleBird.
Fantastic.
Because it was something that I had never made before. And then, for me, I created a cocktail that was published recently in a cocktail book. A book, not a magazine, but a book called The Coast to Coast. So the JungleBird, as you know, is a classic blackstrap rum, Campari, lime juice, pineapple, simple syrup for the Coast to Coast. It is gin, specifically Sassenach, Punta Mace, banana liqueur, and then all of these bitters. So we've got tiki bitters, we've got chocolate bitters, and we have orange bitters.
Wow, that's a lot of bitters.
Is the Coast to Coast.
Fantastic.
I'd like to cheers, but first we have to
introduce
our guest.
Because I'm so tempted to try your Coast to Coast.
Nope.
I mean, my goodness gracious. But let's go. Let's get
awesome.
on with it then.
Why don't you introduce our guest?
Exactly. So today's guest is Cale Brown.
Yay!
He is the founder of JungleBird 504, a national and international... Yeah, JungleBird, thank you. A national and international pop-up bar brand that's designed to elevate premium spirits and empower Black and brown bartenders to showcase their creativity and personal brand. He's a New Orleans native, and he made his bartending bones in the city as lead bartender Jolie, as well as creative contributor at the Tales of the Cocktail nominated New Orleans bar Dovetail Bar.
Love Dovetail.
Which is where we met him the first time.
No, but we'll get back to that.
Okay.
Actually, I remember when we first met him. Keep going. We'll talk.
Awesome. That's good. At JungleBird 504, he applies his leadership, business skills, entrepreneurial abilities, and immense drink knowledge to make killer drinks, create memorable tasting and trade events, and teach bar teams how to improve their skills, service, and storytelling. He's also smart as hell. He holds a Master's of Science in Sports Product Management from the University of Oregon and WSET certifications in spirits and wine.
Wow.
He's also one of the hardest working dudes in the business, seemingly everywhere in industry events. If he comes to your town with his pop-up, make sure you check him out. So you'll have a great time every time because he's just such a great guy. So welcome, Cale, to Manning Overboard.
Yay! What are you drinking, my friend?
Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm actually drinking Mockley. This is actually a non-alcoholic libation. Made in New Orleans, manufactured in New Orleans. Recipes come from bartenders and the creative team at Mockley. I'm actually taking a little break from alcohol to get ready for Mardi Gras.
Heard.
That works, yeah.
I'm actually going to this is actually a pomegranate ginger tonic. So very refreshing. This is also a great mixer to use with an alcoholic beverage as well.
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds great. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, that color is really, really pretty.
And I am so thankful that you're drinking the JungleBird, my favorite cocktail, the cocktail that inspired my brand, and that Heather is drinking Coast to Coast, my first cocktail that was ever published in the book. Also one of my favorite gin dealer's choices I always make for guests when they come to the bar.
I love it.
Awesome.
I'm excited to try it.
Cheers.
So good.
That's just a classic.
The bitters in this are so layered and so complex. You got to try this. They come at you, but not in a bitter way, just in a flavorful way. I love Southern Teague. Southern Teague is bitters are the salt and pepper of the cocktail pantry. And you use them correctly, they're delicious,
gosh.
right? And you would look at this and think this is a gin cocktail, but it's
exactly.
I love that.
It's a great way to just play on ingredients you think and really showing the versatility of what gin can do.
Yeah,
that is just incredible.
So thank you for bringing this cocktail
Cale.
into our life. I will definitely be baking it again.
Yeah,
of
probably
course.
after
Thank
this
you.
episode.
For this one.
Yeah. So, all right. So, tell us about your background, but before that, let's talk about the mystery.
Oh, where did we meet first? Cale first?
Cale first, because I need to know this now.
Okay, I have a very specific memory because it was you were pouring for Terramana.
Yeah.
And you were out in San Diego, and we met Cale and Linda Douglas at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
okay. I didn't know you met both of us at the same time.
I did. Yeah, that was
okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
San Diego boating this weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a giant hole in my brain, and now I need to go and figure out why that is not stuck in my brain, because that seems like one hell of a combination, meeting you and Linda at the same time. Holy crap.
Yeah. They were both pouring for Terramana.
Wow.
And I remember hearing about you too, though, from Andy, who worked at Dovetail and also is one of my mentors, also one of my favorite bartenders all the time. But it was Tales 2022, and that's when Dovetail first opened up as well too. Because I started working at Dovetail within 3 months of Dovetail opening, and it was I met this couple, Rich Man and Heather, Rich is a writer, was saying all these things, and then literally. I remember that. I remember my interaction at the Terramana booth at Bolton this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy, you're two of our favorite people in New Orleans, so that means a lot to us.
Yeah.
So thank you. But enough about that whole thing. Let's hear about your background. So, how does one go from getting a master's in sports product management to bartending?
I'm gonna tell you. Born and raised in New Orleans, of course. Obviously lived all the way in New Orleans. Moved away to Alabama, my mom's hometown, Decatur, Alabama, after Katrina. So I lived in Decatur, Alabama, after Katrina for about 2.5 years, essentially, before we moved back to New Orleans. So finished high school. I was actually a part of the first 4-year graduating high school class post Katrina, my class of 2010. I was a basketball player, so that's how I made my way up to Iowa. So I played basketball, was a college athlete for about 3 years, realized I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting tired of this. So I finished school early, came back to New Orleans, and I worked a whole bunch of jobs in my 20s. I couldn't keep a job, also because I just wasn't happy in the roles I was doing. I was trying to find my way and everything, essentially. And it's funny, one of my first jobs, though, that I had, I was a bartender at a daiquiri shop. The frozen daiquiris in New Orleans, so I did more of this. I did more of this than what I do now, But I always thought about how that was one of the funnest jobs I ever had, right? So fast forward, I'm working all these jobs, and then I get to about, I believe, 28. I just had my first son. I had, met Naima, my wife, my business partner, Miss JungleBird.
Love her.
She's great.
Love your wife.
She's awesome. And I was trying to figure out, what I was going to do next, essentially. And so, I was a former athlete. I always had a love for fashion. I always had a love for style. I always had a love for shoes. If anybody sees me or recognizes me, they always talk about my great fashion sense and, how much energy I have. So I actually randomly found this program, at the University of Oregon. It was a new program in the sports product space, essentially trying to get people into the industry, which is a pretty hard industry to get in, if you can imagine. A company like Nike, Adidas, those are coveted, dream jobs for a lot of people, So did a program there and finished. And I'm thinking, hey, you know what? This is going to be my future. I'm probably going to end up at one of these big brands. You can name it: Under Armour, New Balance, Nike, Adidas. I ended up starting a business called Culinary Culture. And we were essentially a full consulting agency. Okay. So we consulted with a bunch of brands, startup brands. We kind of help with logistics, help with design. And of course, you can never prepare for the unforeseen events, COVID, pandemic. So of course the world ended for a little bit, and I was spending time between Portland, Oregon, and New Orleans. And my time in Portland actually had me getting into craft cocktails a little bit more because, Portland has a great cocktail scene, great food and beverage scene, And also, I'm from New Orleans, so, spirits, alcohol has always been a part of my life. Alcohol has been at every function. You can name it in New Orleans growing up,
Absolutely.
And I was telling people, I think in my past life, I was a bartender,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming back home, the business is starting to fail, essentially, and so I'm starting to pivot, so I'm trying to get a job in the industry. So I'm applying. Everybody's doing a hiring freeze. So I'm sitting here, and while I'm doing that, I'm welcoming my second son, Remy Soul, into the world, so now I'm sitting okay, well, not what the hell am I going to do now? Like,
Yeah.
and I just spent all this time trying to get in the industry thinking that's going to be it. And so it's funny, during the pandemic, I'm pretty sure a lot of people was doing this. I did a lot of drinking, did a lot of cocktail making. You know, there's this great mom and pop wine and spirit shop called Keith & Co in New Orleans. I don't know if y'all ever been.
No, not yet.
But the next time y'all come to New Orleans, y'all have to come. We'll go together because they are a big part of my origin story. Because I used to work next door when I was in another field, and so I used to go to Keith & Co all the time and, you know, buy a bottle of wine or get a new spirit, you know. And then the relationship started growing like that, you know. So I started learning more, and so I would just, I don't know, I would get like a case of alcohol, different spirits, kind of like every Friday.
Oh yeah.
You know, go pick them up, come to the house, pick up a cocktail book, just make them. And then we was like, okay, maybe we should start recording this. So we started the JungleBird 504 Instagram page. And in the beginning, I would just record cocktails. You couldn't see my face or anything, you know, and then I'm recording. Then the page started to pick up a little steam. So I'm like, okay, people are kind of interested in this, you know. But I am always like, well, I want to be really respected in the field. I really want to be respected as a bartender if I take a craft serious or whatever I do. So I always try to go get the education or get the certification or really like immerse myself into the career, you know. So while the world was opening back up, it's so funny. I ended up driving past Dovetail because Dovetail was such a new bar. And, it, you know, Dovetail is a beautiful space, obviously. The owner is an architect. So, you know, she put a lot of emphasis on making it a beautiful space. So I just ride past one day. I'm like, what's that? So we like pull over, we go inside, you know, we get a few cocktails, we drink, we record a video, and then I post a video to the Instagram page, you know, and the beverage director, Will Lester, ended up reaching out to me and was like, hey, I really would like to meet you. Like, I'm a big fan of JungleBirds. I love JungleBirds, my favorite cocktail. I'm like, bet, me too. So I go there, and then I'm talking to him and Andy, and I'm like, look, man, I'm trying to like really learn how to be a bartender. You know, I got this vision, I got this idea to do this pop-up brand, you know, and I'm in love with rum. You know, rum really fueled my passion. I was getting big into rum and feel a spiritual connection with rum, being from New Orleans and everything, you know.
Sure.
And the rest is history. They was like, why don't you just work here? Like, we'll teach you. And I was like, okay, when can I start? They were like, how about tomorrow? I was like, all right, bet, you know. And what's so crazy about that, though, before I ever started there, I actually did my first ever pop-up. Now, this is before I even knew any techniques. I didn't really know what I was doing. You know, a big part of success is your networking, who you know. You know, always leaving a lasting impression. So, you know, two of my best friends who I was in undergrad with, I've been in both of their weddings too, you know, and I've met a lot of their, you know, mutual friends, you know, so we have developed a relationship. One of their friends recently purchased a bar during that time. So I'm telling him, I'm like, look, man, hey, I got this pop-up brand, you know, I'm doing all this, you heard me, like, let me just, you know, do a pop-up at your bar. And like, he was like, all right, bet, you know. So I ended up getting Scrappy's Bitters to sponsor it in Sorrel, Jackie Summers.
Yes,
and
I love Jackie.
We love Jackie.
Yeah. And that, you know, I did my first pop-up before I ever knew how to bartend. You know, if you ask Naima, she'd be like, I was so stressed out looking at me like, what the hell is he doing up there? You know what I'm saying? But I just had this vision. I just had this vision, and I remember getting done, and I remember just sitting on the couch, you know, because I spent like all my money on like ingredients, you know, for that pop-up. So I was damn near broke after that. I'm just sitting on the couch, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, damn, people really came out. Like, this can really be something, you know? And then, you know, started working at Dovetail and started getting better as a bartender. And, you know, I just feel like the rest was history after that. I just started throwing stuff against the wall, and it was just sticking.
Sounds like you have found your calling. Like literally, it sounds like you figured how to weave the things that you are good at into it. And for those of you who have not met Cale, you have to understand his fashion sense is off the chain. Perpetually dressing to the nines, looking good. It doesn't matter if it's 104 with 98% humidity. He's gonna look good.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the other things, I mean, you have such a recognizable smile too. I mean, that's the cherry on top. I mean, with your fashion sense, and you just have that smile. It's like, you know, it's just you light up a room.
Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that your cocktails kick ass too, so that helps.
Yeah, that's real. That's a plus. Yeah.
So, okay, so you were at Jolie for a very long time while you were doing your pop-ups. At Jolie, you were the head bar. You ended up being the head bartender there at some point.
Correct. Yep.
What are the challenges that you see differ? Because we have the pop-ups are becoming a thing. The people are doing pop-ups because they don't have the money for a brick and mortar, but they want to continue with their brand. What is the challenges that you see coming with a pop-up versus having a brick and mortar bar?
I, one of the biggest things I think for any full-time bartender, when you are dedicating so much time to your home bar, is trying to make sure that you can balance both.
Mm-hmm.
When I came over to Jolie, I came over to Jolie with Will Lester, the beverage director and one of my main mentors from Dovetail. We both opened up Jolie together. I
Okay.
started as the head bartender from day one, opened the spot up. And one of the things that I told everybody at Jolie, I was like, hey, like, I will be dedicated here to like hit everything that I need to do. All my goals, like menu creation, bartending, like training, anything you need me to do. But I cannot let my pop-up brand, let the thing that really has propelled me as a great bartender fall by the wayside. I would love for it to be a mutual respect that if I do have something that is important, that is not only beneficial to me, but it's also beneficial to my home bar as well. And also that is why people can see me more often, obviously, like 4 days a week, because I was there for 40 hours a week. So that's also one of the challenges though, because it does get hard, because last year was one of those years where I was like, okay, wow, like it's a lot of opportunities coming. Like, it was a few months like June and October where, I wasn't there for the whole month. I was just traveling back and forth, experiencing a lot of things. And, you know, and it is tough because when I would come back to the bar, I would see kind of how my presence was missed, and how it takes a little bit of time to kind of get that back going, and also, the guests that you have, your guests, your regulars, they're so important to not only your success, but the bar's success, and when you are away, it does kind of impact them as well, because I have a lot of regulars who will literally like pop in and be like, okay, I'm not here, I'm not coming,
Yeah.
which, which is like, you don't obviously want that to happen, because you're like, my team can make everything, but it's also a big part of what we do as bartenders is the hospitality. A lot of people keep coming back not only because the drinks are great, but the hospitality. You know, I think another challenge is, finding brands to really find the money in the budget to support your pop-up brand.
Yeah.
It was so easy for brands just to be like, okay, well, look, like we have this bar that's a Tails nominated bar, top 50 bar, brick and mortar, people can go to this bar like any time of the year. Let's just put the money in there because the brand recognition is there.
Sure.
I had in the beginning years, like 2022 and 2023, it was so much of me convincing, like, and I didn't have to convince that much, my personality, I was like, look, this is what we do. Just give me an opportunity. People was like, all right, I believe them. Like, we'll do it, but that's not easy for everybody too, though, because it can be a big risk for a brand to be like, okay, well, we put money in this pop-up brand, and I tell everybody, like, make sure the branding is spot on.
Right.
Make sure you have everything like covered, where you want to make sure everybody looks good, from the brand ambassador to the brand to yourself and even the guests that are coming in. Because, when you're doing a guest shift, you are like disrupting service a little bit, because a lot of people come there for you, but there are people who like, okay, this guest bartender that people are saying is known. I don't know him. I just came here for a vodka soda. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that that the whole process is kind of like streamlined, and it does take a while to get, I would say a few brands to keep coming back. I'm happy that each brand I've ever worked with has always wanted to come back, or I've always picked my brain, even for other people's pop-ups. Like, hey, how do you think this will work? And I would say the third thing is being away from your full-time job. Obviously getting paid for the pop-up is great, but you are missing out on consistent money. From if you're not at your home bar, presented. And you do have the great moments when you're getting hosted by the brand or by the bartenders at the bar, but then you have the moments when you're by yourself. So you got to take care of your travel, or you might be eating,
Right.
and you can come back home and be like, all right, well, now I have to work 5 days in a row to kind of make back,
Right.
Yeah. But it's with all that being said, it's so worth it. It's so worth it, because it's always been a dream of mine to open up a bar, And like you said, pop-ups are now, I see more bartenders, and I'm happy because, Naeem and a lot of others always say that, like, I've been kind of like a forefront in that pop-up front to kind of inspire the people to be like, okay, like maybe I should invest in my name and likeness, myself, and kind of build this, because I'm always like, if we build this, then soon as that investment talks and somebody want to open a bar, we already have everything laid out, mapped out, and we've already planted the JungleBird 5-4 flag all over the country and out the country. So when the brick and mortar does happen, we're just, hey, we won't miss a beat, we won't miss a step.
Sure,
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, that's great. And also, when you're doing that you have a proof of concept. So if investors like, yeah, but this sounds good, but what does it look like off the paper? Well, it's like, come to a pop up, go and check it out, and then you'll see
Right.
for yourself, which is really great. And the other thing that's cool about your pop ups, Cale, is that they're so different. I mean,
Yeah.
all the stuff that we've been to, Tales, Bartenders Weekend, allegedly BCB. They all have this different vibe. They all carry this different thing. So, how difficult is it to just keep it fresh and keep it so you're not doing the same repetitive thing over and over and over again?
But you're also representing
representing
your
that brand
and have that stay
Yes.
that lane.
I've always been creative. I think so much of, like, especially even every step I always I never look at it as a failure. Sometimes it's tough because obviously when I was in grad school and I was in the sports product industry, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be the thing. But then after a while, I was like, okay, this is not the thing, and it was tough. But I was like, you know what? Damn, like I learned so much creative stuff. I learned so much in networking. I learned so much in my travels in that field, and I was like, okay, well, like I'm creating ideas anyway, like in my past career, like so much of my job was creating ideas and running through ideas,
Right.
and like y'all touch on, I'm able to kind of pull all those pieces together from music, fashion, to cocktails, to culture, all with the pop-ups. When we first started, because obviously rum got me in bartending. I love rum. Rum is my favorite spirit, hands down. It's so diverse. I just love rum.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you love rum, most of the time you get into tiki.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my background, which you can kind of see with Coast to Coast. Coast to Coast has those like tropical elements in there. Got the banana, they got the holy trinity of the bitters, with the tiki bitters and everything. And it's also a big part of my career. I'm a big fan of stirred beverages, so I was able to like mesh those two cultures together.
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of research on tiki, and I let that kind of be the inspiration for the first kind of iteration of JungleBird 5-4. We call it Afro Tiki. Afro Tiki from a lens of black and brown, from a lens of not appropriation. I know tiki is a sensitive subject still.
Yeah.
In our industry. And for me it was like, okay, well I'm doing this thing. That makes a lot of sense not only for the culture, my ancestors, and people who look like me. So we did Afro Tiki, Afro Beats. So Afro Beats, is a genre of music that originated in Africa, and it's got so much of like rhythm and blues, reggaeton, you name it, kind of all into that genre. So that was the first iteration of pop-up. And y'all came to the one that dovetailed when I was with Shannon. That one was insane.
Off the chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was look, that's when I was a young bartender too. I was feeling myself. I thought I ain't have to do a whole lot like prep and none of that. When the doors opened and it was like 150 people outside, I was like, Lord, I was like, how are we gonna get through this? I was like, Naeem was like, you just got to keep bartending, don't stop. I was like, all right, bet. So
you just put your nose down, get your nose in the well, and just go.
Kept going. It was so fun at the end. I was so exhausted at the end though. But what I found though, and I want everybody to understand this too, is that a lot of times we can kind of stick with something because we like, okay, it feels right. But I started getting so good at crafting cocktails, and I really attribute that to Dovetail. Dovetail, when it opened up, we were like the darlings of the city and the darlings of the industry, like immediately. We were crafting some great, like, different cocktails that were very inspiring, and we were pushing that. And I was learning so much from Andy and Will, and I was learning different parts from both of them. And I started getting so great as a cocktail maker. And I started to be like, okay, well, look, like, I never really wanted the pop-up to be looked at as like a tiki-esque pop-up. It was more like modern tropical,
Sure.
Essentially, kind of like not over the top tiki, but obviously there was those tiki elements, And so I was, obviously I'm starting to meet new people. I'm traveling a lot. I'm going to the conferences, so I'm meeting different brands, and I'm just like, okay, well, look, like I have all these ideas that's just in my head with different brands. It doesn't have to be rum. We can do this with this music. We could do this with this style of cocktails. We could do this with this bartender. We could do, so it's kind of just all the thoughts that live in my head. A lot of kind of like drafting and creating. That makes sense.
Yes.
And like you said, the big thing is when you're working with different brands, it's got to make sense for the brand too. This pop-up might not work with this brand. What this brand kind of wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to understand the audience. You've got to understand because they're putting money into you, what they are looking for. And I think you do a really good job of like melding your brand to fit. I mean, your first cocktail was a Scotch cocktail out of a Scotch book. And and it's made with, it was it's a gin cocktail.
They do make a Scotch. They do make a Scotch. Yeah, they do make a Scotch.
Yeah. Which is not tropical, nor it's not a tropical spirit in any way, shape, or form. But you have melded it in a way to create that to make a signature cocktail, which I think is fantastic. You mentioned making sure that your pop-up also honors your ancestors, honors the people who look like you. How important is it to be a face in the brown and black bartending culture?
It's big. I mean, I'm so blessed and thankful to be from New Orleans. New Orleans is such like a culture hub. I mean, New Orleans is older than the United States, and, so much has come through New Orleans. New Orleans, I tell everybody, like, I've visited so many states and I've been able to travel out the country. One thing that is always consistent, if you go anywhere, there's a New Orleans inspired bar, New Orleans inspired restaurant, like a New Orleans inspired jazz venue, just anywhere, and obviously there's also the historical nature of the negative history, obviously with race and everything, and how much, obviously the sugarcane trade played into that, and for me, it's just about reclaiming something that was also like, doing Black History Month that was built on our backs, that we manufactured and honed, and that was a big part of colonialism, It's also a big part of reclaiming something, being like, this is what it looks like now, like that's the history, and now we still acknowledging that, and we also rewriting history, for people that look like me, and a big part of New Orleans bartender scene, and I have to give a shout out to Toure and Turning Tables, because they, he played a big role in making sure that Black and brown faces were featured more, because after Katrina, we got an influx of a lot of expats that, essentially moved here, and, the bartender scene really changed, like before Katrina, New Orleans had about like a 80% population of like Black people. I tell everybody, like, I only saw Black people before Katrina, for real. Like I really had to go far and wide to see like any others. It was either Vietnamese, Honduran, and a few white people, every now and then, So for us in this like modern renaissance that we have, it is so big because a lot of the young bartenders come up to me, they're like, Cale, like I really, like you inspire me. I really want to do what you're doing. Like I really want to be a bartender like on that level. I really want to travel like you. Like, hey, just give me some ideas. And for me, that's big. I think so much of what we do is hospitality. It's just kind of built in us anyway, and if we can figure out a way to make a living off that for ourselves, that's huge. That's huge. And it's really inspiring. Because initially I didn't start thinking that I was going to have that big of a culture impact. This was just something that I wanted to do, that was creative, that I felt was going to be able to bridge like all the things I was into, and now I see how much, it is for me to continue to do it at a high level, continue to show that like, you can also be different. I'm married, I got kids, I have a business, I've contributed to a lot of great bar programs as well, wearing many hats, and it's just, giving people an idea of what to strive for, which is big.
Yeah, and it's really great that you have people coming up to you, because I know you talk with the Toure folks. Just that's one of the things he talks about, like people coming to him and just looking for mentorship and stuff like that through his cohorts and stuff. And now that you have people like yourself, people coming to you, that's huge. That means that there's a really good, really important work that is happening in your city, and I really hope that it really starts to spread out to other cities and other major urban areas where more opportunities for black and brown bartenders that want to get into this industry have that foothold, can do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
You have some big shoulders to stand on, but now you have to be the shoulders to be stood upon.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's big because, you know, I'm a New Orleans native. You know, I tell Ture that, you know, because he's from New York. And I'm like, man, it hit just a little bit harder because I'm from here. And I swear, people from New Orleans, we support New Orleans people. Even when New Orleans people wrong, you know what I mean? We like, nah, they right in our eyes, you know? So my community is, man, I go out in the street and people like could just pull over the car and be like, yo, you're the best bartender. Like, we love your events. You know, and it's constantly people always ask me what I'm doing next. It's really dope. It's really dope.
And that's great.
I love seeing you and Ture bartend together. I don't know if you guys bartend a lot together, but that was so much fun seeing you.
It brought so much joy to Tales. It was so good. It's like, you guys, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
It was
that was dope. That was dope.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know who has a better smell, Cale or Ture.
It's
That's a
one
toss
for one.
up. That is absolute toss up because my goodness.
The answer is yes.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, because if I didn't say Ture might like kick my butt the next time I see him.
Ture will keep
No, he won't. No, he won't. You're right. You're right. He'll look at he'll look at me with a furrowed brow like, really? Come on. Yeah.
That's spot on, Rich. That's spot on, Rich. Yeah.
He'll judge me very lovingly. Yeah, exactly. So I know obviously New Orleans is huge for you, and I know that JungleBird 504 works with a few local distilleries for your pop-ups, which is great. I mean, Sherry Rum. I mean, my gosh,
Sherry Rum.
That stuff is like one of my favorite rums.
Best rum in the state. Best rum in the state. You know, one of the best in the country.
It really is. I mean, and Zeno's such a good dude. Jason Zeno's so
love Zeno.
So
we're actually working on something together soon.
Oh, you are. Yeah. Duly noted. Yeah. Anyway, we can support the both of you guys.
That'd be awesome.
But no, how important is it to use your organization to expose black and brown people to potential industry opportunities to the distilling industry, since you work with some local distilleries in your pop-ups?
Yeah, it's big. I tell people all the time, when we first start, you know, we learn like the base spirits. We learn everything. We learn vodka, we learn gin, we learn rum, we learn tequila, we learn mezcal, we learn them all, you know. And then we learn the cocktails that they all go to, all the classics, you know. But I always tell people, I'm like, it is very big, not only just for your knowledge, for conversation, also maybe if you want to segue into another part of the career to kind of learn the background, like distilling, learn the raw materials, learn how much it takes for to get into that bottle. Because a lot of what we do, you know, some of the interactions are so quick. We pick a bottle up, boom, give a drink out, and then that's it, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of times the guest doesn't know how much it takes for that spirit to get into this bottle, you know, so I can pour it in that quick interaction, you know. So when I partner with local brands, you know, I love bringing people to the distillery. You know, sometimes like with sharing the room, like Poor Sharing Distillery, like a lot of times I might just bring them guys some crabs or some lunch, bring my computer. I might work over there for a little bit, you know, kind of give them ideas, you know. And I really like how the distillers and how they trust the bartenders, you know, trust our palates, you know, trust what guests are thinking, what guests are into, you know, that's big for them, you know, because I always tell them, like, it's big for New Orleans spirits to be featured not only on cocktail menus, but also to travel outside of the state, outside of the city, you know.
For sure.
Because we're creating some great spirits down here, you know. Another one is Escalade. It's a whiskey, black-owned whiskey. My guy, Andrew, I feature them a lot. And that's another brand. They just were able to purchase a warehouse to start distilling in New Orleans, which is big. And, you know, just for any local bartender, any black and brown, even for Tales, like I try to bring people over there, you know, just to check out the distilleries. You know, it's a nice, I call it behind the scenes work, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you're not doing 17 other shifts during Tales.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing that again, but knowing me, I probably will.
Where's the energy come from, man? I mean, just
how do you keep up that energy? And we're not joking. You, like, every day you have 2 to 3 things every
Yeah.
day happening. You and Naima were just everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you do that? No, I'm not being facetious. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the guests. It's the guests. It's the guests. Y'all talk about my smile. It's when I see people coming in smiling, like happy, knowing that something magical is going to happen while I'm behind the bar. That is what get me up. Because I'm going to tell y'all, like, last year we did an opening party at Night Bloom featuring Sherman Rum and Esclave. And we did it from 12 to 2. And I'm thinking, like, all right, yeah, on Sunday. I'm thinking, like, yeah, okay, cool, this will be easy. Get it out of the way. I was hurt so bad the next day. So bad. I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe I started the week like this. We had so much fun though. All I could think about was the guests because Sunday is like speed rack and there's a few other events that go on. And for people to trickle down all the way to the bar water to come to Night Bloom to see us. And there was some heavy hitters in there, man. And they were just like, yo, we ain't missing a JungleBird function for nothing. Like we just ready to like party with y'all and like experience some magic. Literally, I had to get up the next day and go judge a rum daiquiri competition with Providas at 9 a.m. So I come and I get to cane the table and they like, here you go, here's some Foursquare. I was like, I need some water first before we do that. I need to eat. I was like, where's the food first? I was like, I'm be okay. I can do this, And then obviously Monday, we did a strip drill, which was legendary, which was amazing, And like you said, you saw me the next day, Tuesday, at the what was that Rum Barbecue at the then I went to do the Mr. Black event. But a big part of that also was proving something to myself that that I can do this, that I am one of the best bartenders doing it, that I am breaking the mold of what it means to be a professional bartender, having my own brand. Last year was a big year of me welcoming my friends Joan and Aaliyah, who I've worked with both at Jolie. And also 2 of my favorite bartenders in New Orleans. They bartended everywhere, and they came aboard the JungleBird team. So featuring them this year was great. They at the end of the week they was like, yeah, that was the most professional pictures we ever had taken of us behind the bar. And they were asking me, how do you do it? And it was at the end of the week, and I finally everything was done because we did Sunday to Friday, and I was like, I know that took at least 2 hours off my life right there. But I was like, I don't know, y'all, but I was like, I think everybody got the picture that JungleBird 5-4 is here to stay. Like, I think it worked. I think it worked. And, we did like this group hug, and I was like, please, somebody carry me to the car. Like, I need to rest for like a week, But I swear the big part is, it's the guests, man. It's just proving, like, I know people when they see my name on a flyer or they see JungleBird 5-4, they see some marketing material. I know people are coming there to give energy. So it's also me feeding off their energy to keep me going, which is a big thing because I'm like, okay, they came to see us and they came to party with us. And, especially down there, we could tell it's like, it's so many things going on. Like, you could go to any event and you could just stay at an event, there's a lot of great events going on. So anytime people come out to see us, represent a pop-up brand, an independent brand, it just means a little bit more to kind of find that reserve. It was a few times where I was like, I don't know if I could do this, y'all. And people was like, you just got to dig deep. I'm like, all right. Right. And I'm like, okay, I'll find my third win. Let's go. I can do this, But it was, man, at the end of the week, people was calling me Wolverine because they was like, I'm seeing you all day, all night. I'm seeing you at Aaron Rose and I'm seeing you up early in the morning, and I'm also like, well, I got kids, I got to bring them to school, and I'm thinking, I'm bringing my kids to school and I'm thinking, these parents don't even know what I've been doing all week. Like,
If they only knew.
If they only knew. But it's like I said, it's just a big thing. Also proving something to myself that I can do this, and it's funny. Naima last year, she was like, boy, if you put another thing on that schedule, she was like, you can't fit nothing else. And then I fit one more thing, and she was like, why would you do that? But the thing that I fit was with Carry On from Phoenix, with Jax. And I remember and we did a pop-up at Jolie, and I squeezed that one in. But, that really meant something to me because I met Jax Tales 2023 at Dovetail when we did Highballs. We did Highballs' first ever ball takeover, and all the Arizona people came out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll never
Oh, that's
forget
right.
that
Yes, yes,
because
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so a lot of that was like I'm like Naima, like I just I had these relationships like and it really means something that people are reaching out want to do something. So she's like, okay, well, like you need to sleep though. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sleep at this. I'm gonna sleep at this. So honestly, hey, like Mardi Gras right around the corner. I told everybody during their tales, I'm like, look, this is honestly like a month of partying in New Orleans. This is just 1 week. I can get through.
You're like, I can do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how you've mentioned a lot of names. We have a lot of mutual friends. How important is networking and that building of relationships to the bartending industry as a whole?
It's huge. It's huge. Big part of networking for me is sharing best practices. Obviously it's a benefit if you have a pop-up brand or if you represent your bar. I was able to take Jolie to DC within our first year. I did Jolie's first ever bar takeover, and that was a big part of just my network that I knew. And it was Jolie had got nominated best new US cocktail bar, then we made top 10, and so we did that takeover the week before Tails. And for me that was a big moment for me because I was able to take Jonah, who I just brought up, on his first ever like brand trip, with a bar, prior before he joined the JungleBird team. And that was a big thing for me. That meant something to me to show him like another side of the industry. And obviously that's a big help. Hey, like I want to do this pop up. Like I want to come to your city. Like, hey, do you have any brands? So you think that's a big thing. And then also just I saw a cocktail and like we all make the same cocktails when it comes to classics, but man, those originals that a lot of people make at their bars, like with those like local ingredients or just their creativity. It's very like I tell everybody I take a piece from everybody. Like I take a piece from all my favorite bars, all my favorite bartenders. Whether it be how they interact with guests, whether it be how they run the bar, whether how they craft their cocktails. And then I come back to New Orleans and I'm like, okay, it's kind of like making gumbo. I'm kind of throwing this in the pot and throwing this in the pot, and I'm figuring out it's a way for me to stay fresh too. Like you said, for the pop-ups and all the different kind of SKUs and creative ideas, that's a big part of networking. Kind of seeing what people are doing, seeing how their guests and their community are interacting with them when they come to their bars or they come to their events, and it's huge, And like I said, a big part is sharing best practices and also sharing how others are maneuvering in the space, like with their health and wellness too, because I have a lot of I have a lot of great friends who work just as hard as me, and traveling like even more than me, and it's for me to figure out like, okay, how are you doing this? And how are you taking care of yourself behind the scenes, So
Yeah,
that's a big thing. That's a big thing.
for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. So,
Well, you got
yeah,
one.
I got one more. Yeah. So, one of the things you mention a lot is storytelling. You're a big proponent of storytelling within a bar setting. What type of stories do you ultimately wish to convey through a JungleBird 504?
Oh man. I'll tell you, man, I love the storytelling from our travels as of late. I got to go to Chihuahua last year, learn about Soto, got a bartender down there. We recently came back from Guadalajara. We took over El Gallo, and
Oh,
that was amazing.
Fun.
I've been spending a lot of time in Mexico over the past like year and a half.
Yeah.
And when I come back to New Orleans, so I come to a pop up, and I'm speaking about the journey, and I'm speaking about the journey so much that so much of the cocktails for the pop up is inspired by the travels, by the
Sure.
journey. Some of the ingredients, some of the style of the cocktails. I'm like, hey, this cocktail was inspired by the first time I went to the desert in Chihuahua, and I could taste the white sand getting in my mouth, and I'm hot as hell, and I'm like, what the hell are we? And they telling me we about to have a fish fry, and I'm looking around like there ain't no water around here. Like where's the fish coming from? We in the desert. And then I'm just seeing this older woman in this town that's only like 140 people in the middle of nowhere coming with all this fish, and I'm like, okay. And then they just like eat, and then I'm like, damn, am I eating somebody in this town leftovers? But they just are like, hey, just eat. I guess. And I'm like, okay. And that is so inspiring for people because some of what people travel is based off of obviously marketing of what they heard, of what they seen. A lot of people sometimes don't go to the places that are not like popular. you know so when I'm able to tell a story through like cocktails or through a pop-up, it's also me like acknowledging all the places I've been, you know and also a lot of times like the spirits, like talked about how much it took for this spirit to get into this bottle for me to pour it for you,
Sure.
and how much intention, how much care, how much love behind it, and how much love that I crafted, this cocktail and this safe space for y'all to come to, where we can drink, we can party, we can, parlay, we can, share best practices, and we can all go home safely and do it again, another time. It's a way for me to continue to push the culture relevance of New Orleans as well. New Orleans has always been like a culture, like drum heartbeat of this country, and anytime I can bring like New Orleans with me, I always bring it with me, and that's so much a big part of, being from New Orleans is how hospitable we are, the hospitality, it's just in us. We just born with it. We can't describe it. I tell everybody, I'm like, a bartender can make great drinks, they can be the best cocktail maker, but if they don't have that hospitality, if they can't really impact somebody so deeply that they remember that they keep coming back, then, it's just a transaction at that point. It wasn't something that really changed that person, or inspired that person,
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the difference between a bar and a place to serve drinks, right? It's the people, that interaction, that human element, which is so vital for that.
And obviously, you carry that in
tenfold. I mean, just
thank you.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So I mean, people, if Cale's popping up in your city, like I said at the beginning of this thing, make the effort to go, move heaven and earth, because you're gonna have a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, with good people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, we are at our end.
We're running out of time.
But before we leave, we have some other questions for you, and we call them last call questions. And Heather's going to ask you a few questions about what it would be like if we're sitting in your bar, and we're at a bar in New Orleans, your home city, and for the first time, and we're just gonna go on our merry way, and we're gonna find out what we do for the rest of the night or the rest of our trip. So this is night one in your beautiful city, New Orleans. So
night one in New Orleans. We're sitting at your bar and coming to a close. We want to hit another cocktail bar, though. Where should we go? Where do we go next?
Oh, okay, all right. I got 2 places. Okay, if you can. Actually, I got 3 places because they all kind of in this like area. All right.
Perfect.
You should go to Dovetail.
Yep.
You should go to the first bar where I started at. Dovetail is still a consistent great cocktail program.
Yes.
And it's right on the edge of the French Quarter. So if you want to go into the French Quarter, walk around, you could get a great drink before you go like party. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
From Dovetail, though, you should walk down the Jewel of the South and sit on the outside table, directly outside the bar. Get a drink from there. Make your way down just a little bit more. And then go to Night Bloom. Hop in the Uber and go down to Night Bloom. Go down to Rampart. You'll be able to stay on the same street. You'll be able to hit 3 bars.
I love it.
That's fantastic. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned Jewel of the South, because Chris Hanna is the one that sent us to Dovetail initially.
In the first place.
Yeah. I used to go there all the time.
Yeah.
When I worked down the street, and Chris, shout out to Chris. He was, legend. When I first started bartending, he embraced me from day one, man. Yeah, great friend.
That's awesome. That's great. Not surprising to hear.
Okay. Now, usually we ask, where's the best burger? But if I'm in New Orleans, I don't want a burger. Tell me where to get a po' boy.
I'm going to tell you both, though.
Okay.
Good.
Where to get a po' boy, my favorite po' boy is Zimmer's in Gentilly. So it's about like 10 minutes from downtown. You got to hop in the Uber or Lyft, if you rented a car.
Okay.
But it's in Gentilly. It's close to the lake. So, my po' boy order, and let me say this. What separates Zimmer's for me, there's a legendary bread, Liebenheimer bread. It's been made in New Orleans for years. That's pretty much what everybody uses for their po' boy bread. Zimmer's has an Italian bakery behind it called Gendoza. Okay, so it's like a seeded kind of roast. It's different. And they get it fresh every day.
Okay.
So that's what separated po' boys to me. My po' boy order is just a shrimp po' boy with ketchup, mayo, hot sauce. That's it. You take it and you just go to the lake, right on Lake Pontchartrain. Just go, eat your po' boy there. That's what I recommend. A lot of people say Parkway. I love Parkway too. And you can get a good po' boy from a gas station, of course. But definitely if you can make it to Zimmer's. Shout out to Zimmer's. They really do their thing. For a burger, though, there's my guy, Chef Harry. He has a burger pop-up called Pressure Burger.
Mm.
Oh man, he make the best smash burgers. You know, he is starting to build like a cult following. People say
Okay.
he got the best
Right.
burger in the city. He pops his head, courtyard brewery, boiled rips, sometimes at Dovetail, and whenever people need like a burger pop up. Shout out to Chef Harry.
Okay, I love
Nice.
that.
Excellent.
I love that. All right. We've slept the night away. We've got a free afternoon to kill. What do we do that's quintessential New Orleans?
I love, you know, one of the things I love doing this with Naima too. I love walking down Royal Street in the French Quarter and popping into all the art galleries. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
man, as Mortal Machine art gallery, it's a rotating art gallery. They have like a lot of dope art in there. And Mortal Machine is at the beginning of Royal. So you can like start at the beginning of Royal and just kind of trickle your way on down. There's another great gallery by artist name Frank Grell, and he's a photographer, and he goes into the swamp essentially at night, and he puts up all these lights. So he takes like pictures of like cypress trees and just swamp living. It's just really beautiful. And then you just keep walking down, kind of pop into the gallery, and obviously it's New Orleans. Everybody in the gallery is going to offer you a drink, and then also you're in the French Quarter, so you can like kind of get off of Royal Street and maybe go to maybe get off Royal Street, go to Fives, in Jackson Square. Get off Royal Street, maybe go to Manolito. Get off Royal Street, go to Candy Table. Get off Royal Street and go to Double Club, which just opened up my homie's bar Dom. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay,
Fantastic.
I love it.
That's great.
New Orleans is a crazy art town. Like, I didn't know how much. Like you think there's art, but like we went outside of the city ish and went to the art museum that you guys have.
Yeah,
and
it
was stunning. It was a beautiful one. And yeah. All right. Where's one place that is a non-negotiable? Where should I eat in New Orleans?
I got two for you.
Okay.
For lunch, you should go to Little Dizzy Cafe in the Treme, in the historical Treme. Treme is a historic black neighborhood, oldest black neighborhood in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Little Dizzy's Cafe, you got to go there right when they open up. They open from 11 to 3. You got to go there because it's always a line. They got the best fried chicken, I swear, in the country.
All right.
And it's so good. Some of the best soul food, It's like you walk in there, it's like a hot counter, and you can also order food to order. But, man, they fry the chicken to order. It's so good. You got to go there.
Okay.
For dinner, you should go to Aviva, which is a new restaurant that just opened up. One of my favorite chefs, Chef Marcus Jacobs. He's the chef there. And the menu changes every day. They get fresh ingredients every day.
Fun.
And oh my God, the meals are like so good. They're so good. And I'm happy because he used to run a restaurant called Marty's Grill. That was my favorite restaurant. It was a V8 Cajun fusion, restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was dope. So I'm happy to see him back, back in the kitchen, making dope food, showcasing local ingredients, supporting local farmers. Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome.
And then last place, I'm closing out the night. Where am I going for a beer and a shot?
Oh, you're going to Black Penny.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to Black Penny. That's my dive bar. I go back when I was at Dovetail. They used to call me the mayor of Rampart. I used to be all down Rampart, Jewel, Bartenders, Black Penny. Palmer Pond. Any of the bars over there. I was just always in them. Black Penny will always be my favorite dive bar. Always.
Black Penny's great. It's so much fun. Yeah, it's really really cool. Seriously, I mean, we should go drinking together in New Orleans. I mean. We need to get
to New Orleans when Tails is not happening.
Yeah.
Right, and we gotta come visit y'all. Because I know y'all extended the invitation to us. I told Naima right before I got on here, I was like, we gotta make sure we come visit them.
You have an extended invitation to our house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then also you got to do a pop up down at Swanee's with the Swanee crew with Pete Shea.
Yeah. It's funny, I think that is happening. I think that is happening.
Okay.
Don't tease me with a good time.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
We're already
right
now, in fact. So yeah.
I love a funny story about that. My first trip to Mexico, I was on a tequila trip with Fortaleza.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when I met all the Swan Bar people. I went down there by myself. I knew nobody. And the Swan Bar family, they embraced me. Oh my God, like we had so much fun. And then fast forward, they did a pop-up at Dovetail like the year after I left. So yeah, Swan Bar, that's family. Like you said, that's family. Yeah.
They family.
Yeah, they're a family. Absolutely. Well, Cale, thank you so much for joining us today on Manning Overboard.
Thank you.
I really hope that you had as much fun as we did having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Great.
I know Mardi Gras is right around the corner, and when I
Yeah.
reached out, I'm like, I'm not even sure if he's going to be available, but I'm throwing that out in anyhow. So thank you for making time.
I mean, above
Of
and beyond.
course, yeah. Oh, this is great. I really appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity. It's really dope. I'm honored for real, you know.
Absolutely. So if people want to find you on the socials, where should they look?
Yeah, so my personal page on Instagram is Cale, so CALEB ..3 dots DOT. And for the JungleBird page, it is at JungleBird 504.
JungleBird 504.
Awesome. Give them a follow because JungleBird 504 is just a great follow because, you will see what we mean about him being everywhere. It's incredible. Yeah. So,
and remember, you can reach us at manningoverboard.com on the Instagram on Manning Overboard, or you can go to, if you want to email us at any time, you can email us at manningoverboard@gmail.com.
Yes, for any comments or questions or, hopefully not insults. But thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next happy hour. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, honey.
Cheers.
Manning Overboard, Happy Hour with Hotcakes and the Captain is produced and distributed by EatsDrinksTV.
A service of the nonprofit Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection,
the Center for Culinary Culture,
telling the story of food and drink, one taste at a time.